And here we go again, another week of Grand Slam Saturday. This the August 7 edition. This is Big Polly coming to you. And we have plenty of news involving GSW, and we're going to get to it with the big announcement that occurred on Sunday. If you were checking out the Big Polly's World of Sports Sims Facebook group and the Wrestling's Finest Delphi page, we had mergers. What happened was this. Some junior promoter named Vinnie McMahon Jr. got a little rambunctious and urged his senior partners to engage in a major coup that apparently had been in the works for several weeks. The New York City merged, New York Circuit merged with Chicago, Los Angeles, San Juan, and Canada. But apparently those who ran the Atlanta circuit had a counterplan, and they went right with it. They merged with Tampa, Knoxville, St. Louis, and Portland, and they will all be part of the Atlanta circuit, kind of like what happened in the 80s with the WWF and the NWA. And Texas has merged with Memphis and Minneapolis, and they will be based out of Houston. So what changes is this. Instead of a 4-week loop through the territories, we will be down to 2. We will have 6 territories each, 6 territories total, and we'll do 3 1 week, 3 the other the next week. The international championships and the North American championships go away. Replacing them will be the circuit championships. Each of the 6 circuits will have a champion. The Minneapolis, New York City, Atlanta, and Mexico City circuits appointed their own champions, and they gave the belts to, as for starter, to whoever had the highest ranking when the merger was made. So, for instance, in the Mexico City circuit, the Latin American Championship, the newly invented Latin American Championships, went to El Canic and the team of Dos Caras and Mil Mascaras. And we'll get into their defenses in just a moment. Merged circuits could keep the 16 highest ranked singles and the highest 4 tag teams. Everybody else became a free agent, and they were drawn into the 6 circuits. So we have no more free agents. Everybody is part of one of 6 territories. Now, anybody with more than 5 belt points in singles or 10 in tags become legends and can go wherever they want to. They're basically like if you play poker, a wild card. They could be part of any territory at any time. So they could come in and have matches, and they go to the highest bidder. And if a singles grappler competes as part of a tag team, let's say like Larry Sabisco and Tony Gurria, they have to all be in the same territory. Otherwise, the tag team cannot, has to be inactivated. And at the end of next week, we will do trade lotteries where I will pick somebody from singles for each of the 6 territories, and they will move. If they are picked by their own territory, they stay. But if they're picked by other territories, then they have to move to those other territories. And if they're part of the tag team, then the tag team has to move along with them. So we are going to do the Mexico City cards, and we're going to do the London card. There is no San Juan card because they got bought out by New York. And then we will do our Oakland Cup matches from Little Rock, Arkansas. They will still have the same circuit qualifiers as before because all of these seedings and so forth were set at the end of quarter number 2. So we will still have the defunct territories like Tampa and Chicago, for instance, will be part of this week's tournament. And we'll have all of that for you right here on Grand Slam Saturday. So with that in mind, we take a look at what happened this week in Mexico City. We had to reshuffle the card a little bit with all the movement going on when 16 circuits become 6. And we began with the Kangaroos, the fabulous Kangaroos, who have not lost yet in GSW. Well, that continued as they pinned Grillo and Sabisco. Sabisco was actually the one pinned back supplé. Ron Wright, I should say, and Mark Lewin's the babyface here. They went to a 20-minute draw, as did Lex Luger and Roland Bach. Johnny Barron and Tommy Rich also went 20 without a winner. Ultimo Guerrero lost to Biff Wellington when Ron Wright interfered. I have to say that slow. You have to say that slow because it's easy to go fast on that. So Wellington won by DQ, and it looks like Wellington and Wright will have a battle in 2 weeks. The Dusick Riot Squad, they did not lose to Youngblood and Steamboat. In fact, with Youngblood and Steamboat being 26 points higher in the rankings for them, they picked up a couple extra bonus points, and they'll pick up 4 points, and the former champs do not pick up any. Major upset of sorts. Andre the Giant loses to Superstar Graham. Graham wins by countout at 6:07. And then we just finished up our 2 championship matches. Dos Caras and Mil Mascaras retained their title. They had not had a match so far in year 4, but they beat the Blackjacks. They had 16-24 via DQ. And Triple H unsuccessful. He wins by DQ at 16:07, but that just gives him another shot at the title in 2 weeks, as Alkanic got caught with a steel pipe that Triple H had brought to the ring. So this sets up our main event, which is going to be Mr. TV Jackie Pallo, the reigning World Junior Heavyweight Champion, against Mystico from the WWE and perhaps a little ways before that. Pallo comes in with a mark of 6-6-2 through 14 matches. In year 4, Mystico is 3-4-3, and he just was recently lost by pin to Dr. Wagner Jr., and Pallo just most recently lost to Jerry Lawler by a DQ. Lawler is eligible for this title, being a former junior heavyweight champion of note. We'll get the match started here, and off we go. One fall, 60-minute time limit, as the world title matches are. By the way, the regional championships are also 60-minute time limit affairs. Legal headbutt, the first big move landed, and it was by the champ. A legal chop by Mystico. Mystico with that high-flying ability. We'll see if that could be a difference in this bout. Whip to the ropes. High knee to the chest. No pin. And we're now 2:06 into the bout. Clothesline from Mystico. He's keeping Pallo off balance early. And he comes right back with a rolling reverse. No pin there. So Mystico with a flurry of moves. He has gotten 3 pin attempts in, and we are only at the 3-minute mark. Pallo's got to slow it down. But no, Mystico to the air again with a flying punch. No pin there. That's 4 pin attempts now. And Mystico, he'll slow it down himself, which may be a mistake. He's using arm holds, and that reduces the stamina for Pallo by 4 points. And we've had something happen. Let's see what happened. Pallo tries a counter move. Both wrestlers' allies come to ringside. Does Pallo have an ally in Mexico? Well, it doesn't matter. The allies start fighting at ringside, only to be joined by both Pallo and Mystico. This is a double disqualification at 4 minutes and 10 seconds. So I would say that maybe Ultimo Guerrero interfered on Pallo's behalf, and that Biff Wellington, well, it wasn't Biff Wellington, because Wellington will have a feud with Guerrero. We'll say Tommy Rich interfered. Tommy Rich interfered for Mystico. So this is a double DQ. Pallo will keep his title. And this was a bout that did not go long. Each man will get a point each for their efforts tonight, which moved Pallo to 125 and Mystico to 121. So Tommy Rich and Ultimo Guerrero right now, of course, is one half of the World Tag Team Championship, along with Dr. Wagner Jr. And this was 47-8. 47 off of Pallo, 8 off of Mystico. We did not go long before the DQ occurred. So that's it for bout number 1. And with that, we're heading on over to another very large, populous city, that being London. So stand by. And hello there again, everybody. Welcome to match number 2 here on Grand Slam Saturday. We have rearranged, of course, with the mergers, some championship matches. So Ultimo Guerrero and Dr. Wagner Jr. did indeed have a title match this week. They're going to face the Von Brauners, who, due to the merger, lost their international tag title shot. So we're going to give them a world title shot right here and right now. Let's show you what happened in the London circuit. It has gone as follows. The British Bulldogs lose to Bobby Shane and Buddy Colt in the Curtain Jerker. Jerry Briscoe submitted Dick Murdoch, who's a heel here in London. Cowboy Bill Watts and Duke Kiamuka went to a 20-minute draw. Otto Wands defeated Edge by DQ. Another draw, Jack Briscoe and Mr. Olympia. The Flying Scots defeat their fellow Legend tag team, Stud and Patera, who were filling in for the Von Brauners after our last second change by the London promotion. George Kidd took John Pezic, the returning John Pezic, to a 30-minute draw. Pezic still wants a crack at Pat O'Connor as soon as he can get it. And we may have a bout coming up between O'Connor and Dory Funk Jr., provided he doesn't win the title as this Grand Slam Saturday comes to a close. If Funk doesn't win the title, he might get Pat O'Connor, and they will probably set a #1 contender. In a bout for the women's tag titles, it was Emma Waldeck and Mae Young winning over Peggy Banner and Bonnie Watson. Hulk and Andre over the Infernos, although they did get a little bit of trouble, and you just missed brand new champion in the Atlantic, and that will be Bert Azarati, who finally caught Kintaro Oki 1642 with a press slam. So that brings us to our main event. It's going to be a battle of heels, battle of the bullies. And the Von Brauners try to upgrade their former international tag title reign to a world title reign, and then we'll see who can emerge and face them for the world title. Smart money is it could be Jay Youngblood and Ricky Steamboat, or it could be the Briscoe brothers, who could beat it in singles action. Looking like they're going to be focusing on singles more than they will as a tag team, but if a title situation arises, I think they will go for it. So here is our world tag team title bout. One fall, 60 minutes. Should be wild and woolly, considering both these teams like to bend the rules. And immediately, it's a stretch muffler attempt by Ultimo Guerrero, but you can't score a submission this early with the submission rating the Von Brauners had, so we will play on. And the Von Brauners score points right away with a double team. No, I'm sorry, it was Brass Knuckles. Brass Knuckles. They're using Brass Knuckles. They're cheating right away. And that's what you have in a Battle of the Bullies match. As Jesse Ventura famously said in a match between Macho Man Randy Savage and Jake Roberts, when they were both heels and they were going for the international title, Intercontinental title in 1986, you're going to see some good down-home cheating here. Kicked by the Von Brauners. Punches by the challengers, the Von Brauners, and a double team attempt. So they have the champions off guard here. Nobody expecting Wagner and Guerrero to keep the titles too long. They come in 2-1-0, and the Von Brauners built up a pretty good record after their international tag title run. They're 7-7-4 coming into this bout. And we have a Prussian neckbreaker. That does not get the pin done. We're 3 minutes in, and the Brauners having a good time of it early on. Suplex attempt scores by the champs. Choking countered. And there's Saul Weingroff getting into the bout. Tried to hit one of the masked men with a cane, but they were expecting it. Chopped by the champs, an auto control loss. A body slam that was countered. Legal speed move by the champs. Trying to come back in a ways, but they're just putting a dent into their deficit, which is now at about 60-some-odd points. And a double team attempt countered. We'll go to the challengers. Their submission move was countered. A legal throw countered. Counters everywhere. Disqualified check. A DQ was stopped. And with these two teams, you'd think a DQ would be a likely story here. The Von Brauners go for a double team. That's countered. Disqualify possibility was stopped. Pinhold countered by the champs, by the challengers as it was being executed by the champs, and the Von Brauners using punches. They're trying to keep from getting DQ'd. So on we go. Legal whip to the ropes by the challengers, who are still up about 69 points at the 8-minute mark. Punches by the Von Brauner's score. Double team attempt countered will go to the champs, who land on a legal turnbuckle move. No action. Legal speed move by the Mexican tag team, sticking and moving, chucking and jiving. And now they get a double team. And the deficit now down to about 38 points as they land a legal forearm. Double team countered will go back to the champs for illegal choking, 5 points off. We're at the 10-minute mark now. And a backbreaker, a brutal backbreaker outside the ring. And now the deficit's been trimmed to 14 points. No action, auto control loss, action outside the ring. Barrage of punches by the Von Brauners. No blood yet, but if they keep going, they'll probably arrive. See, some of these the masked men could be wearing the claret inside their masks. Legal chop by the champs, but a kick was countered. An arm hold by the Von Brauners. Legal chop by the challengers, no pin. We have had only 2 pin attempts in this bout. Both teams just beating the stew out of the other. And a chair shot right there by the Von Brauners. That's 15 more points off of their total. They're now trailing again by 50. 49, actually. Auto control loss. Legal whip to the ropes by Wagner Jr. and Ultimo Guerrero. Double team attempt scores. And another. And another. Illegal punches by the challengers. It's a very close battle, neck and neck at the 14-19 mark. Punches by the Von Brauners. And a double team attempt by the challengers. That's 15 more points. And they go for that Prussian neckbreaker again, or at least Kurt Von Brauner did. And speed move. No pin, not even close. And a Wagner driver by Dr. Wagner Jr. No pin. They come right back with a rolling reverse. No pin. Abdominal stretch by the Von Brauners. That's not going to get a pin. Illegal punches by the Von Brauners. Armbar. Both teams wanting a rest and getting it. We've had now 5 pin attempts in the bout. 3 by the champs, 2 by the challengers. Another double team move by the challengers. The Von Brauners using punches. And a double team. And an illegal turnbuckle move. And another double team. So they've opened up an 83-point lead now again. So they have a big lead, as they did in the first 10 minutes of this bout. A kick by the Von Brauners, illegal turnbuckle move, and illegal punches. Champs can't get anything done, so we go back to the challengers and auto control loss. Double teaming by the champs, but they got work to do, and they didn't attempt to defend their title here, so it's up for play. You'd think they would try to get out of London with their titles intact, but they must have respect for the Von Brauners to not do it. Double teaming by the champs, speed move by the champs, choking by the challengers, legal chop, no pin. So now both teams have attempted 3 pin attempts, and we're still going at 25 minutes. Double team attempt by the challengers, the Von Brauners, and we have a result. Von Brauners throw referee over the top rope to the ringside floor, where the ref lands very hard, and the ref looks up and calls for the bell. This one is over. Ultimo Guerrero and Wagner Jr. are going to escape London with the titles intact. They will retain by DQ, and they will pick up 3 points. 3 rankings points. Time with the bout was 25-28. So this was a good bout. 344 off of the champs, 225 off of the challengers. Got 3 stars. But sometimes, sometimes you have a championship team or a champion like Jackie Pallo. Might not be the best, but he will get lucky and keep that title around his waist. And we have had no injuries in this bout. So we will head on now to Little Rock, Arkansas for some Okerlund Cup action. Welcome to our third, fourth, and fifth bouts here on Grand Slam Saturday. You caught me a little bit off guard as I was setting up our Tampa final. So you already know who is in the Tampa final. This is coming to you from Little Rock, Arkansas, and we use the standings after the second quarter of play. So we have the old 16 circuit set up, and we're going to have our Tampa final, Chicago final, and our world title bout, which will once again be Dory Funk Jr. Going up against Pat O'Connor for O'Connor's world title as I open up a Pepsi. Yes, I'm getting Pepsis now because they're $1 cheaper to get at Walmart these days, thanks to our good friend Mr. Inflation. So let's go through what happened in the tournaments because we have the Tampa and the Chicago tournaments simultaneously. In the first quarterfinal of 3 in Tampa, the interns beat the Super Destroyers by a pinfall. The Nasty Boys advance on a draw over the Fabulous Ones and a double DQ between Bobby Shane and Buddy Colt, and Jericho puts Shane and Colt into the semis. Then we had the Chicago quarterfinals. It was the Kangaroos over... No, I'm sorry, it was the Chronic beating the Kangaroos by countout, 11-48. First time the Kangaroos had lost a bout in GSW. The Wild Samoans did beat the Four Horsemen pairing of Anderson and Blanchard, Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson, I'm sorry, Wild and Woolley, but the Samoans prevailed. The People's Army advanced on a draw over the New Day in a babyface match. In the semifinals, it was the Briscoes over Bobby Shane and Buddy Colt in a long, drawn-out match. So they lose their advantage. They would have had an advantage coming into this last bout, but they were busted open, and the interns' 2 bouts went quicker than the Briscoe brothers' 1 bout. The interns defeated the Nasty Boys on a partner switch at 1:15. In the Chicago semifinals, which you are about to see after this bout, it was the Blackjacks over the People's Army, Chronic, and the Wild Samoans. Wild Samoans win by pin in a lengthy bout, 30 minutes and 40 seconds. So the Samoans, actually the Blackjacks and the Samoans will be about even, as the Blackjacks were busted open and took a pounding, so they will be on even keel. So this first final, the Tampa finals, and the Tampa and the Chicago winners will meet in one of the round of 16 pairings in the final stage. So they will both get the DQ -10 rule, and they will both have moves to trade off here. And Dr. Ken Ramey, you see him right next to the masked man, leading the interns in the battle, and off we go in the Tampa final. Briscoes get by on a win or a draw. The interns have to win the tournament. And we start with the interns with a neck hold, illegal punches, and some double teaming. No action. Pinhold countered by the Briscoes, and... oh! What has happened here? Somebody came in and attacked one of the interns, and there is a cut. Could not see who that was. Maybe we'll get a little more understanding as to what happened as the days and weeks progress, but somebody just leapt to the ring and attacked one of the interns. And all we know, it was an ally of the interns, maybe from where they are in their original 6 in the 6 circuits that we have now. We'll get more news on that, fans, as we move along, and try to pass it to you next week here on Grand Slam Saturday. Happy August 7th to you all. I'm recording this right around the airing time, normal airing time of 7 o'clock, but I have run into a little bit of difficulty keeping the schedule. Neck claw, that's not going to score the submission. We're 5 minutes into the bout. The interns trailing by about 50 points at this point. You did some hair pulling, now a nerve hold, now a face rake, punches, and they go for a pin on the Briscoes, no pin. We're 7:09 into the bout now. This can go 60. Remember, the Briscoes advance on a win or some sort of drawn result. They are 2-2-2, and the interns are 4-3-3 coming into this bout. Illegal punches. Crowd still in Little Rock a stir as to what happened with somebody attacking the one of the interns. Of course, the film being a little grainy, we can't see it. Needed a stomach by the interns, no pin there. 3 pin attempts, no, 2 pin attempts so far for the interns, 1 for the Briscoes, and we will play on. Illegal knee, no pin. Body slam by the interns. Interns pretty much dominating the pace, and now they have opened up an 80-point lead on the Briscoes. No action. A legal elbow by the interns. That does not result in a pin. Of course, the Briscoes took a battering in that semifinal bout with Bobby Shane and Buddy Colt. Neck claw, no pin. Legal headbutt. So the interns keeping the pace. Body slam. Well, let's see if the Briscoes can get something going here. Claw-like hold, but that's not going to get a submission. Looked like Jerry was trying to clamp something on one of the interns. Double team move. That scores 40 points. And that's what the Briscoes are down to, trailing by right now. Up-tempo moves by the Briscoes. They're getting the crowd into the bout. Double team attempt countered. Arm hold by the Briscoes. Double team. Some more double teaming. But this time that was by the interns. And we have cuts. Both teams go down. Both teams bloody. And this is the second bout in a row the Briscoes have been cut open. So both teams racking up some cut damage. Needed a stomach. That was countered by the Briscoes. Possible DQ stop. Double team attempt by the Briscoes successful. Then they're using punches. No action. Auto control loss. And again, pile driver by the interns. No pin. 4 pin attempts so far for the interns. 2 for the Briscoes as we play on. Kick. And a double team by the Briscoe brothers. Double team attempt again. Another double team attempt successful. Legal forearm. They try to quicken the pace on the interns. No action. Auto control loss. Double team attempt countered by the interns who go back to a leg hold. So right now it's about an even Steven bout. Both teams cut open. Body slam by the Briscoes. That would normally be Jerry. Jack did not sustain a lot of cuts in his career. That was in his autobiography, which I want to get someday and read. Illegal choking by the interns, because Briscoe was a very talented amateur before turning pro. Double team attempt by the intern scores, and a nerve hold. Double team attempt fails this time. An illegal throw by the Briscoes, leg hold by the Briscoes, and another gash has opened up on one of the interns. They're now at 58 on cuts, the Briscoes at 45. When a random number has been reached, then the match could be stopped on a cut, which would count as a technical win because it wasn't a pin or a submission, but it will get one of these teams into the finals. Chair shot by the interns. Ouch! No pin there. And illegal throw by the Briscoes. Double team attempt countered. Nerve hold by the interns. A lot of damage being done in this bout. Both teams nearly at the 400-point mark in damage, and they are both very close to being pinned. The interns a little closer right now. Legal throw, leg drop countered. Back to the interns. A partner switch, which is what they use to beat the Nasty Boys. Doesn't work this time. Sleeper hold. Sleeper hold by the Briscoes. No pin. And they use a double team and a body slam and another double team. Submission move countered. Choking by the interns. So this is getting personal rather quick. They now trail by, if my math is correct, 69 points. Nerve hold by the interns. Double team attempt and a costly one there for the Briscoes. They lose 20 points. So the lead shifting back and forth as we approach the half-hour mark. More double teaming by the Briscoes. The interns now down about 60 some odd points. Double team attempt, the Briscoes again, and they go for a suplex. One, and that's it. Legal elbow, 1, 2, 3, they get him. Briscoes move on to the final stage, the final round of 16, and they will get the winners of the Blackjacks and Wild Samoans, which is going to be our next bout. So the Briscoes win the Tampa Circuit Tournament. They will pick up 4 points for their effort. Time of the fall, 31-41. And it was Jack pinning Billy Garrett, which we will refer to as Intern 1, with an elbow. And this was a war. 4-11-45 off of the Briscoes. 5-10 and 58 off of the interns. A 5-star match. And we will set up our second final. Nothing happening after the bout. And this should be just as high impact. In one corner you got the Blackjacks, who were just recently had a long reign as the North American Tag Champs. Here in GSW, they'll have a 60-minute bout with a fellow heel tag team, the Wild Samoans, who have been a strong part of GSW history. I think they have been world champs a few times. So it's heel against heel in this one. And I think I have set up nobody in the Samoans corner, nobody in the Blackjacks corner. These two teams are just going to duke it out. The Blackjacks come in with a 4-7-4 record, and the Wild Samoans 2-0-1. Nothing to trade off because the Blackjacks just have a ropes move, and we usually ignore the ropes moves. And we will set. Blackjacks would normally have an advantage, but they lost a lot of damage points in their match, which was with, let me see here, they fought the People's Army, and People's Army gave them, that's the team of King Curtis Iakea and Mark Lewin, gave them a very tough battle. And that was that. So we will again, did I set up the minus 10 DQ rules? I did. So we will move on and have our Chicago final right here. And the bell sounds. This determines who gets the Briscoes in the round of 16, which we'll have in a few weeks' time. This is the third Okerlund Cup qualifiers. We'll have our fourth next week for you on Grand Slam Wrestling, we hope. No action. Disqualify check. Foreign object used right away on the Blackjacks used it on the Wild Samoans. They'll go for another follow-up pin there. Don't get it. No action. Illegal choking. Illegal biting by the Samoans. Guess the Samoans practice a little cannibalism here or there, or try to. Double team attempt by the Samoans. Knocking the Blackjacks a little off guard. And again, and again, and again. Body slam ka-chunk by the Blackjacks. So these teams both just throwing caution to the wind and going right at it here. Illegal choking on the Blackjacks. That does not result in pin. Auto control loss. Disqualify check. Illegal biting and auto control loss. Illegal throw by the Blackjacks. No pin. Illegal punches. No pin. Auto control loss. Just reading the Assassin book by Jody Hamilton again. Of course, Jody Hamilton passing away on Tuesday, as I record this last Tuesday passed, and he said that the heel against heel matches were a specialty of the Assassins, who were first known as the Bolos, because Tom Ernesto was the great Bolo in Carolina. Double team by the Blackjacks and a big one there, 35 points. Samoans come back. And they once fought I don't know if they were the Bolos or the Assassins in Atlanta, but they once fought the Von Brauners at the old Ponce de Leon Park in Atlanta, which preceded Fulton County Stadium, which was the minor league park for the Atlanta Crackers. And they once went to a 1 hour draw on a big card at Ponce de Leon Park. Illegal turnbuckle move by the Samoans. No action. And a lariat from Blackjack Mulligan, but it was countered. Samoans are able to duck it. They go for the headbutt. Ka-chunk! And that's right to the face of one of the Blackjacks. No action. Illegal punches. And so far, this is about an even bout. 41 points to the difference. Blackjacks with a slight lead. And they pull off a double team to almost double the lead right there. They go for a foreign object again, and that is it. That is it. The Blackjacks. Surprises me that they had such an easy time with the Wild Samoans, but they did. They will advance. They will face the Briscoe brothers in the round of 16, which we will have for you. I believe it is 7 weeks away. The week 37, I think. Don't hold me to that. Just thinking off the top of my head, we will have that round of 16, and we'll determine the final 8 for the Okerlund Cup. So the Blackjacks will pick up 4 points. The time of the fall, 12:53. Clean match, no blood. And we have one more match to do. And that'll be our world title bout. You might recall last week we had a bout between Pat O'Connor and Dory Funk Jr. O'Connor appeared to have won the match cleanly, but it was Dory Funk Jr. who had a foot on the ropes, and that has led to this rematch in Little Rock, Arkansas between the two. So we will set that up for you right in front of your very eyes, and that'll be it for this week at Grand Slam Wrestling. If my guess is correct, we're not going to be able to meet the usual time. I will have this up at 7 o'clock, but I'm thinking from now on, as soon as I have it ready to go, I will post it on Saturday, Grand Slam Saturday. And if I have it ready in advance, I'll post it 3 in the morning Eastern time on Saturday, so it's Saturday almost everywhere. So Pat O'Connor defending his world title. And next week, John Pezic, the former 2-time world champion here, is going to be facing who does not have the title between these two men in a title eliminator. Pezic wants to win the world title a 3rd time. He's already said as soon as somebody beats him after he's won the title a 3rd time, he will retire again. But he wants to face the winner, and he wants to face the champion rather soon. And he's the #1 ranked contender, by the way, in all of GSW, so he should be awarded that title. Of course, Gordon Soley, the commissioner of GSW, fined Pezic for interfering in the Monarch of the Mat final, and Pezic basically responded to Soley, well, if you're going to do that, then I'm going to unretire and win the title a record 3rd time, and then I'll retire again. So that's where we're at right now. So this is one fall 60 minutes for O'Connor's world title. And it was O'Connor winning by pinfall, but controversially, as he had a foot, Dory Funk Jr. had a foot on the rope, so these two are going to meet again. And off we go with this world title bout, O'Connor and Dory Funk. Dory Funk Jr., of course, ended the decade of the 1960s as the NWA World Champion, but it was O'Connor who began the 60s as World Champion of the NWA. Small package right off the bat. No pin. Of course, O'Connor lost in real life to Buddy Rogers at Comiskey Park in Chicago. And it was up until, I think, the 80s, and I think maybe one of the WrestleManias, the biggest gate card professional wrestling had at that point. and it was held at Comiskey Park, well, the old White Sox Park, before they moved into the park they are in now, from 1991 onward to the present day. Speed move by O'Connor, and Funk down early, but it's very, very early. He goes for an arm hold and gets it. Neck hold by the Funker, and a low blow. Low blow till the fans in Little Rock winced at that little piece of work. Funk Jr. using punches, using some more punches, and a whip to the ropes by O'Connor, followed by a legal knee. Flying clothesline by O'Connor, no pin. Neck hold by O'Connor was countered. Arm hold by Dory Funk Jr. scores. So we're 6 minutes into the bout. Funk down, but down a little bit. A countered kick by Dory Funk leads to a whip to the ropes and a big boot by O'Connor. No action. Legal chop. And I was saying in an earlier episode of Grand Slam Saturday, I saw O'Connor wrestle Ric Flair in Florida in '81. And by that point, O'Connor was well into his 50s. Illegal punches by Pat O'Connor. Leg hold by Funk. Fan interaction. And, oh yeah, Dory Funk getting into it with the fans. And that's going to reduce his stamina a little bit. Rolling cradle countered. Funk Jr. knew that was coming, and he's using punches. Body slam by Dory Funk Jr. We're 9 minutes into the bout. Pat O'Connor up about 25 points. Auto control loss by O'Connor, and again the fans getting into the face of Dory Funk Jr. No action, no action. Leg hold countered by... Oh, Dory Funk goes low. Dory Funk just went low. No pin. Very close. A 10. The only way you could beat O'Connor for the title right now is if a 1 had come up. So, relatively close. I guess that's like an asteroid missing Earth by 300,000 miles. Legal whip to the ropes by Dory Funk Jr., followed by a headlock. Spinning toe hold. That's not going to get a submission. The odds were 36-35-0. So we move on. A kick. By the way, as champ, Pat O'Connor 3-0-1, and as challenger, Dory Funk Jr. 1-1-1 after that long title run he had. It ended on week 27. So he's an early Wrestler of the Year candidate. But that, I think, will all hinge on what Pat O'Connor can do. Funk Jr. in control. The butterfly suplex was countered. Body slam by O'Connor. And again, Dory Jr. getting into it with the fans. I think a competent wrestler like Dory Jr. would know better not to mess with him. Whip to the ropes by Dory. A pinhold inside cradle. Got to 3, but O'Connor kicked out at right before the count of 3. Legal chop. No pin. Only got to a 1 count there. Another inside cradle. He got to a 1 count. O'Connor kicked out. He's racking up the pin attempts, though. Here's a backslide. No. O'Connor, again, getting out on 1. So a series of pin attempts by Dory Jr. He follows it up with a legal elbow. Spinning toe hold. Of course, Dory Funk Jr. won the title early in year 4 against Jim Lundos. And he lost it to Pat O'Connor, who he's facing right now. Pinhold countered. And, oh, he's attacking O'Connor. And the ref is stopping the bout. The ref is stopping the bout. It's going to be O'Connor by disqualification because Dory Funk Jr. was ignoring the instructions of the referee. And that's how this one's going to end. That's going to give O'Connor 2 more rankings points. And Dory Funk Jr. is going to have the unenviable task of facing John Pezic at the New York card. That'll be the first card you see next week here on Grand Slam Wrestling. And Pat O'Connor will be defending his world title there. And that's the bout you will see. But we will tell you about the title eliminator between Dory Funk Jr. and John Pezic. Dory's going to really have to put up a good showing against Pezic to stay alive and be a #1 contender. But he's a legend in the new hierarchy of the GSW ranking, so he could go and win any title he wants to. So Dory DQ'd for not following the referee's instructions. It was 128-110, so Dory pretty much pissed away a chance here. He seemed a little unnerved, and was as the bout continued. So Dory's now got the uphill task of facing John Pezic at our global card, not a global, our New York card. Yeah, he will get he'll get John Pezic. It'll be a 60-minute world title eliminator. It'll just be like a world title bout. And we will have for you as our first bout on Grand Slam Saturday next week, Pat O'Connor facing Dr. Jerry Graham. Dr. Jerry Graham, world champ. That would be a mind-boggling event, but you'll have that for you on our very first bout on Grand Slam Saturday. This has been Big Paulie, wishing you all well. Godspeed and God bless. We'll do this again next week. Bye-bye for now, everybody.